What's up, brothers? I got a requested topic today from a guy whose subject line reads Blue Pill Fallout, but really the reality of this request is he's angry at the truth. So let's hop right into this. I'll throw it up on the screen and read it out. Message body. I discovered your channel through your interview with Tristan Tate and have been hooked ever since. I bought your audiobook on iTunes and have completed it. I'll cut straight to the point. So for many years of my life, my mind has operated on a certain belief system when I became unplugged. I realized that the mindset was all based on societal lies and defined nearly every aspect of my life. I've been plugged in for so long that it's hard to determine what is the truth and what deception is anymore. So if you haven't read my book, guys, it's on Amazon, Kindle, and print, as Audible as well. I narrated it. The introduction to the book, I kind of talk about my background and how I came to my own unplugging from essentially what society sells guys as a bunch of comforting lies, because the uncomfortable truth doesn't sell so easily. But that's essentially what he's talking about. If you've read the book, then you'll know exactly what he's talking about. If you haven't, check it out. The pinned top comment has a link to it on Amazon, or just search Unplugged Alpha. Anyway, he goes on to say, I'm dealing with a collapse of a mindset, and I'm pissed off that nearly everything I was told by parents, by my teachers, by everyone amounted to a giant pile of crap. I have read your book, and now I'm effing pissed off because of all these things you talked about in your book were floating around in my head, but were always chased away by my higher reasoning, aka his beta conditioning. So looking back, if I had embraced the red pill 10 years ago, I think my life would have been a whole lot better overall. Just to give you an example of how blue pill I was, I tattooed some name's chick on my arm because we got in an argument. Yeah, that's okay. Well, I spent my 21st birthday consoling at my overly obsessive girlfriend at the time. Like, what the hell was I doing, he says. Is the goal of Western society to turn men into obedient little betas? Well, to put not too fine of a point on it, it's kind of what's happening. I don't know if that is the goal. I don't think it's the goal. He uses the word the goal. So I'm going to disagree and say, no, it's not the goal. It's just the general direction of Western society and societal conditioning, which evolves around a female-first primary social order. I opened my book in the first chapter talking about that and why guys need to understand it very, very briefly. We operate in a world, and it's always been this way, by the way. This is nothing new. This is not like, oh, this is brand new for the 21st century. Men have always been the disposable sex, and women have always been the protected sex. It's just a function of evolution, and that's the way that we operate. The obedient little beta part that he's talking about, that's a function of more or less the feminization of Western culture, which is also driven by, you can call it third wave feminism, toxic feminism, whatever it is you want to define it as, but this new version of feminism that's no longer about equality, and it's in fact more about supremacism and submission of men. Again, if you want to dive into a little bit more deeper, I cover that in the first chapter of my book. So he goes on to say, my question is, how do I control this anger? So he's basically seen things as they are, and he's pissed off. That's one way that you can approach it. How to stop myself from falling into the black pill mindset? All right, I'll talk about these two over here. So how to control the anger? Well, anger is a legitimate response in the face of injustice. Yeah, like I've said that before. This should not be new to anybody. It's the reality of life. Something doesn't go your way, it's okay to get pissed off. The thing being, though, is if you commiserate, and especially a lot of guys like to do this with other guys, where they'll sulk with a bunch of other guys in some dark corner of the internet. Yeah, this sucks. Yeah, Bill, this sucks. Yeah, John, this totally sucks. And they all kind of sit around talking about how things suck, not really doing anything with their life. That's where it spirals into really just an area of like doom and gloom. And you really shouldn't go there as a guy. It doesn't serve you at all. Other men don't want to be around you, other successful men anyway. Women certainly don't want to be around guys that are sulking and complaining all the time. So your anger comes as a result of the injustice that you've seen, the lies, the comforting lies you've been told. Again, society sells comforting lies. They don't want to sell uncomfortable truths. There's many, many examples of it, and they just don't sell it to men, by the way. Like, one of the comforting lies that you'll see in the mainstream media narrative, especially quite a lot in the last few years, is, hey, ladies, you're beautiful at any weight, any size, any shape. And the reality of all of that really is, No. Men get to decide what they're attracted to, and it's a function of evolution for men to be attracted to women that are healthy, fertile, and signal cues of health and fertility for the offspring. At no time in history have men ever been attracted to morbid obesity. We've always been attracted to feminine cues, health cues, shiny hair, clear skin. This is not me, oh, he's a misogynist. That's one of the things you'll hear. That's just a fact of reality. That's what evolutionary psychology and science has concluded. It's factual. So again, they sell crap to men, they sell crap to women. It is what it is. But as far as the anger goes, well, you know, can you get angry if the sun burns you, right? We know the sun's hot. We know it throws off UV rays. If you've got pale skin, you're going to get a sunburn, and that's going to suck. So what are you going to do next time? Are you going to get angry about the sun being hot and causing sunburns? Or maybe you're going to spend less time in the sun. You're going to hydrate more. You're going to throw on some sunscreen and do the right things so that you navigate accordingly. It's the same thing with life and women, right? You're sold a bill of goods, a set of lies that don't serve you. Well, okay, you want to sit there and sulk about it, or do you want to pick yourself up and be like, okay, well, now that I understand, for example, women are hypergamous and their hindbrain is always asking them if this is the best guy that they can be with, make sure that you're a man on purpose, chases excellence, wants to put a dent in the universe, is physically fit, has broad shoulders, narrow waist, knows how to make bank, blah, blah, blah. All the things that I talk about and we've covered many times before on the channel and other collabs that I've done. It's basically looks, money, status, and game. And you just max out on all those areas. You also at the same time understand that, women aren't particularly loyal and they're not always a permanent fixture in a man's life. So if she decides to pick up and go, you have to be okay with that. There's different ways that you can manage that differently. If you have a predispositional one-itis, for example, you may not want to engage into a long-term relationship that's monogamous on your part so that you've got a lower chance of having issues that come with that. There's all kinds of different ways to approach it. You're not asking for anything specific. So, to the question of let me throw it back on screen, to the question of how do I control this anger? It's just accept it for what it is. I accept that the sun is hot, and if I sit out in the sun all day long in the summertime with no sunscreen, not drinking water, I'm going to get burned, right? So I manage that. Rather than getting angry about it, I manage it and I adapt accordingly. And that's all that you need to do in life as a man, is adapt accordingly. It's incumbent on us as man to take ownership for our lives and adapt and pivot. That's, women don't have to do that. It's men that have the burden of performance. Women have a different set of obligations. But speaking of men specifically, because most of you guys watching this are dudes, and this is coming from a guy, that's really what it boils down to. You're saying how to stop myself from falling into the black pill mindset. Just accept things for what they are. The world is a difficult place for men. I know that a lot of guys have grown up, especially if they're in their 20s or in their late teens, in the bubble wrapping generation where parents would helicopter parent the crap out of them. Like I used to take my bike and go and ride over to the conservation dam and screw around. I could have drowned. I could have had, created this like flood with this like, makeshift damming product that I put together, like a little Leave It to Beaver sort of thing. And I was like probably 9 or something like that at the time. Today, parents won't let kids go out for like the whole day and do whatever they want. There's a lot more bubble wrapping around children today. Either that, or they're basically, I don't have my phone, but they're basically growing up in front of screens. They're staring at a mobile device or a tablet or their computer all day, or their video games and PlayStations, and they're not getting out and, breathing germs and scratching their knees and getting dirty and stuff like that. So, there is an element of society, essentially, there's no better term to define it aside from pussifying boys. And the whole thing that pushes guys into the spiral of the doom and gloom, dark corner of the webs where guys just get together and complain to one another, is they don't know how to deal with rejection. One, they don't know how to deal with rejection. And two, they're not sure how to do the work. They know that work has to be done, but they don't do it for whatever reason. I can't really say why. It could be any number of things, upbringing, conditioning. There's any number of things that, that could fall in the way. But for the most part, the thing that's in the way of most guys that hang out in the doom and gloom area of the webs is there's an obstacle that fell in their way. There's a really good book actually by Ryan Halliday. It's called The Obstacle Is the Way. And essentially he talks about how obstacles will fall in your life as a man. And he kind of leans more into stoicism, and he talks how, Stoics would often find ways to make the obstacle the way forward, sort of thing. And I mean, I've done that many times in my past, with my businesses. I've talked about it in past videos. So there's a huge archive of a lot of conversations around that. But that's essentially what it is. I mean, it's really not that complicated, and it's not something that you should lose sleep over, if I'm being honest. Women don't respond to you because you're obese. Lose weight. Move more, eat better. It's pretty simple. Keep doing that until you look down and you're no longer looking at belly fat, but you're looking at six-pack abs. You're making minimum wage. Well, get the hell out of the minimum wage slave grind, right? There's all kinds of different angles and approaches you're going to have to take to dig yourself out of what really most guys, create for themselves. I always say guys like to complicate their lives and then justify why they do it. Well, rather than justify why you do it, how about uncomplicating your life? And that's how you get away from the anger. Anyway, he goes on to say, should I base every experience I have on a scale of probabilities? Not really. I'm not really sure what you mean by that. Sometimes I say, like, on a balance of probabilities, if you date a single mom, this is going to be the outcome. All that really means is, like, more often than not, this is what's going to happen. So you should base experiences based on the reality of what they are, not what your belief system in the past that has lied to you has told you that they are, that hasn't served you, but as they are. Should I always assume that people are completely full of crap until they prove me wrong? That's an interesting question. For the most part, I hate to say it, but you should be skeptical. Men and women, whether it's in romantic relationships, friendships, business transactions, I'll tell you something. If I'm being honest, and I'm in my late 40s, if I was more skeptical of more people in my past, or listen to my my intuition, my spidey senses when they start tingling, if you will, I would probably have not made a good chunk of the mistakes that I've made and saved a lot of money. But at the same time, I think mistakes can be good because they almost accelerate you forward if you use them properly. And I say that again, if you use the outcome of the mistake properly, it can launch pad you into the stratosphere. It can accelerate your growth as a man. So don't be afraid to, like, fall down, scrape your knees, get burned, get dirty. But you should have a dose. I don't know if it's going to, for you, it needs to be a healthy dose, but you need to have a dose appropriate to your belief system of skepticism with what people tell you, and listen to your intuition, because more often than not, call it your gut, what your heart says, whatever it is that you want to define it as, but more often than not, if you pay attention to intuition, it will serve you more times than it won't. Okay. So if it's a fight between what does my gut say and, what am I hearing? I've always said, watch people's behaviors over what they say. If the behaviors trump the words, believe the behaviors. So have a dose of skepticism, trust but verify, as Ronald Reagan used to say. I know somebody said it before him, but you get the idea, right? Just understand that component. Help me out here, Rich, blah, 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 stay off the grind. So he doesn't have any links to social. That's fine. That's really about it. I mean, that's all that I can offer you, bro. But yeah, you're just mad at the reality of life, and dude, it is what it is. What exactly are you going to change? Just like getting mad at gravity or darkness at night or getting mad at the sun. This is society. Accept it for what it is. Once you've done that, then you can move on. One of the things that I found useful before I wrap up in accepting the reality of the world is you kind of dive down this little rabbit hole. And, for me, it started with a little bit of Rollo's work. Then I looked at some Evo Psych. Then I looked at some other books that kind of tied into that. And all of those books, by the way, that I'm talking about right now that I'm recommending are actually pinned in the top comment in the Amazon link. So guys are always like, well, what books do you recommend? Just go look at that link, and anything there would be useful. There's different categories for business, for red pill, for self-improvement. You get the idea, though. But just accepting, surrendering. If there's one word that I could use to sum this entire cast up, is basically surrender to the reality of the world and then adapt accordingly. And that's all you need to know. You don't need to complicate it any more than that. You don't need PTSD therapy and any of that bull crap. Surrender, accept, pivot, and move forward. That's it. If you guys enjoyed the video, or if you lived in a similar sort of paradigm shift, leave a comment below. Let this guy know what you think. Smash the like button. And yeah, check out the pinned comment with all the links that I got there for stuff to my literature, the book. You want to book me for one-on-one coaching, join my men's community, blah, blah, blah. It's all there in the top pinned comment. We'll see you guys soon. Have an awesome day. Peace out.